Hi everyone, my name is Mayream Salam Sumonu and I welcome you to another exciting episode of Unscripted with Mayream Salam. On today's episode, I have with me Mrs Mobolaji Idowu. She's the CEO of Toibox. If you know me, you will definitely know Toibox. I have been shopping my child's educational toy from her for the past 2 years, and I can't thank you enough for bringing something like that to Ibadan because it has not only shaped him academically, it has shaped every aspect of his life. So can we know a little about you? Give us a little introduction.
Okay, my name is Mobolaji Idowu, and I'm a mom. And fortunately, I'm a mom to a special need child, so that adds an extra, badge to my badges. And I wear many hats. I'm a project manager by day, and I also own Toybox, as you know. And on my newest addition, I own Kidley Space. It's an indoor playhouse for children, and it's the new thing now, and I'm really excited about it. Otherwise, when I'm not a mom, I'm working. So I work around the clock, and pretty much
Okay, so what school did you
finish
attend your
from. Okay,
qualifications and where are you from?
I'm from Ibadan. I'm a
Really?
typical Ibadan girl. Both mom and dad hail from Ibadan. I had my first degree in law from the University of Lagos. And then I practiced for about 4 years in the real estate domain. And then I moved abroad where I studied information systems and also work as a project manager in a leading telecoms company.
Okay. So now you talk a lot about having a child on the autism spectrum, and you're always passionate about it. How did we get there?
They say parenting will humble you. There's really no manuscript to parenting, and I didn't plan to have a child with special needs. I didn't even know what it was all about before then. I remember the first time the nurse mentioned your child may be autistic, and I remember I had said, "Oh, it's not drooling," which means the best knowledge I had of autism then was Down syndrome. So it fell on my leg. To be honest, it fell on my lap, and I embraced it. Now, let me not quote it to you, making it look like it was a walk in the park. It's tough. Parenting on its own to a normal child who doesn't have any diagnosis can be very hard. Now, double it up with a child with autism and zero knowledge of what you're dealing with or what's to come. So I just became a mom. I wanted to be a mom and slay at it. But life has a different plan for me. And my son was not hitting a certain milestone, which obviously led to questioning,
At
wanting
what age did you notice that?
so, at about 1 year old, a child is supposed to respond to sounds like regular sound and things like his or her name. So now he wasn't responding to it. To be honest, if I flip it back, he had talked at certain age, not talk, let's say dada, and then mumbled a lot of words here and there, but he had regressed. Of course, there was nothing indicating that there was a problem going on. A child who talks today may just be mute tomorrow. So I thought that was it. Plus, I wasn't in Nigeria, so I didn't have all those mummies and grandmas around to say that, oh, that way in you. So I just didn't think anything was going on. Unfortunately, at a bit over one, you would expect to say a child's name, and then even if let's assume there are 4 or 5 kids in the room and you say a name, reflex, the kids will turn back. He's not turning. So the first instinct was this child is deaf, but he will respond to certain other sounds like cocomelon. So obviously, I knew he wasn't deaf. Today, I know that he had something called selective mutism, which is a very big part of autism. But then I didn't know what it was. So these are the things that raised eyebrow, and we would want to get to know what was going on.
Was he exposed to screen earlier? You mentioned Coco Melon and all of that.
Of course, he was.
Okay.
I was a first time mom. I didn't know what not and what was. So it was excessively, I would say.
Okay.
I started my master's degree 10 days after I was born.
Okay.
So I would go back to school. It was with my mom. My mom had come to babysit for us for about 6 months. It was with my mom. And even when I was home and I needed to study or do one thing or the other, I'd need things to engage in. So yes, of course, like every normal mom today, I did that. But today I know differently.
Yeah, but when you were told about the spectrum, how did you react? How did you take it? Were you at the denial stage first, like, oh, this is not possible?
Of course. everybody is. I think it'd be very hard for you to hear someone say, oh, they said my child has this. And I'm like, okay, what's next? No, obviously. I lived in denial for a whole year. I remember the moment the nurse said it, I kabashed immediately. God forbid. I had prayed and prayed it off for like a typical African Christian, right? I'd gone on, prayed it away, and never to be heard again. And but then the elephant in the room was staring at you every blessed day. Somehow on you don't want to Google it because they say the devil you don't know, right? But somehow you Google it and then those symptoms begin to stare at you in the eye, and you see your child is not going to talk, your child is not responding to his or her name, your child certain there are many symptoms to autism. So they say there are no two autism. Likelihood that what my child poses is the same thing as another child about his age on the spectrum will show up is not very common. So one of the big symptoms is a child will tiptoe. Mine wasn't tiptoeing. Somehow those little things make me say that, oh, thank God, he's not doing it. So maybe he's actually just not ready to talk. I remember I'd call home and tell my mom how I felt, and she'd be like, I just don't think he's ready to talk yet when it's time. So those little reassurance sort of felt like what I needed to hear. But it was 7 months, 8 months after I'd been told he may have something called autism. And those symptoms were there, glaring in the eye. It became really obvious, like it's about time. So it'd be about 1 year. I just thought, let's go find out.
Let's go find out. So, did you feel any guilt? Probably you did anything wrong during his pregnancy and all of that.
I really can't trace anything back to the pregnancy itself. I know I didn't do anything wrong, but I can trace a bit back to excessive screen time. Now, I don't want to be quoted wrongly. I'm not saying screen time causes autism, but I'll give an instance. Excessive screen time means that the child is denied the possibility of social interaction. Now, this is one of the things that don't come natural for children on the spectrum. You can't see a child on the spectrum stand up and approach other children and say, oh, hi, I'd like to be your friend. That is not it. They don't initiate play. They find they have to jump into play or be involved in play. Mm-hmm. So now, having to be glued to the screen excessively means that you do not even need to approach other children or try a different kind of play. Now, quote that I had said excessive, because we often think that, oh, they've said no screen time at all. There are certain things that can be good in screen time. There are also other ways to engage a child rather than screen time. My second son never had access to it. Till date, if you give him a phone, he can't operate it. Okay. If you give him a remote, he can't operate the TV. I like it like that. Call him, say he's late, but trust me, he's amazing in other areas.
Okay, so now you said it took you a year plus to finally come out of it, like, okay, this is what is happening and I have to find a solution. How long did it take your partner, or were you on the same level?
So generally, men are not at par with women when it comes to raising kids, right? You often see the mother do a lot of work than the man is. I think it's natural. Let's not say the man is willing to do. It's the mom. You're the one who's carried the child. You're the one who's done the bigger part of the work. So if I say I lived in denial for a year, let's give him 2 other years after mine. So for so long, he wished it away. He prayed it away. And he often thought that I let him get away with excesses just because he's on the spectrum. So he would say, stop leaving him alone. Own bad journey. All in the name of is on the spectrum. But sooner or later, he got the picture and realized that the earlier we embrace this thing together and work on this journey, the better for the child.
Okay, so when you were pregnant for your second child, were you also worried, or when it was even growing up, were you also worried that, oh, this thing could happen again and all of that?
Of course I was. So I'll take it back a bit. Before my first son was born, I had another pregnancy. She was preterm and she was born at 27 weeks, lived a week and a half, so about 29 weeks, and she died 11 days after birth. Wow. So of course, by the time I was pregnant with my first son, I was very scared. About the time the water had broken, I was really scared. So now, it was happening for the second one again. So now here, I wasn't just scared for autism. I was scared for autism. I was scared for the water breaking. Even though I'd had a child, my first son's pregnancy lasted 40 weeks and 6 days. So for him, I was really scared again, regardless of the fact that I'd had another child. So yes, I was scared. Like I said, nothing can be traced back to pregnancy. So it wasn't like I did anything that I should be worried for. But what I knew I was going to do differently was access to screen. And so when I faced out the pregnancy stage, I knew I needed to do more as a mom.
So after, saying, okay, this is the problem, what are the things you did at that time to solve the problem? You said it was not talking at that time, but with everything you've been doing, is now talking and all of that. So what are the things you did?
As easy as it is to talk about now, to be honest, it wasn't a walk in the park. It was a long journey. So by one, he wasn't talking. By two, he also wasn't talking. He had started school, and schools was sending their concern. He's not talking. They're trying to talk to other children and get them all engaged in different activities. He wasn't involved, and he wasn't even interested. So of course,
Was that in Nigeria?
No. He wasn't born in Nigeria, so we were in Sweden here. So now, talking is the least of the worries. There are certain behavioral issues that would equally show up. Things like I said, another symptom of autism is that the child would tiptoe. He wasn't tiptoeing, but because communication became a problem for him, he would bite himself. So he would inflict harm on himself. Today, if you see him, there's this permanent, sort of ring or bangle that it seemed like that he had given on himself. So he'd bite himself on one hand and then later he moved on to the other hand. But all of this summed around communication. If you find it hard, it's just like you're talking to a deaf person and the person cannot seem to connect with you. They get upset. You know how when we're younger, they say don't hold a leaf because you're triggering somebody who's deaf. Exactly the same with them. So because he's not able to express himself to you, for you to give back in return what he's expecting you give, if you had understood what he's talking about, then he's upset. He shows this grievance in several ways, So of course it was hard. We got a therapist. We get a therapist abroad, but to be honest, I think there's a lot with being Nigerian that being abroad does not meet up with. I wanted a very aggressive therapist who would, spin to action immediately and not be gentle about it. But then the therapist abroad was quite gentle. So I'd involved another therapist from Nigeria. We worked remotely. The guy is based in Abuja and he had worked remotely. And today I give God the glory, and to that guy, it was amazing. It worked and it turned me to who I am today. Because it was virtual, it meant that I had to be seated there with him, and it equipped me. It got me interested in, being hands-on. So it literally left him with like a 24-hour round-the-clock therapy session, because once it's done, I pick you up from where he left. And he had it back to back. And he was mute till he was 4 years old.
Your son?
Yeah.
Wow. Did you move back to Nigeria because of this?
Yes.
And you continue with the same therapist in Abuja, or?
No. Now we're in Ibadan. There's no point connecting with the therapist in Abuja when we can get a face-to-face, one-on-one.
So we have people like that in Ibadan.
Oh yeah, of course.
Oh, I didn't know that. So when you came back to Nigeria, is in school now?
Yes.
How did you choose the school, and how is it doing in school presently?
So we've tested different waters. I won't want to mention the name of any school, but we've tried different schools. Honestly, school has been amazing. Today, we're more informed, we're more equipped. Even the schools that are not typically inclusive schools are ready to work with your child. So most important thing is, it's not about the school, really. Find people who have genuine interest of kids at heart, and are not in the teaching profession just because, well, it's an avenue to make money. So minders who really have the interest of children at heart, inclusive or not, is not the thing. And be ready to work as the parent. It's not enough that they do so much at school. If it's not followed up thoroughly at home, you're just merry-go-rounding around the circle. You're not going to get the same result I would get because I want to be hands-on. I remember I'd gone to my child's PTA meeting at school yesterday, and while we were talking, I had said to the owner of the school that I expected that they would have sent me certain things. She apologized. And I said, I'm a very hands-on mom. Even if I get home at 10, the child will wait for me to carry on a certain, routine here and there before the day is over, So it's taken a lot of work. I moved back to Nigeria because of him. So why then am I not putting in my best? So he's in a fantastic school now that has therapy sessions included in his schedule. It also has an IEP, individual educational study plan, drawn specifically for him. So it's not enough that, he's in grade 4, he's in grade 5, whatever class the child is in. It's often good to remember that they're not all studying at the same pace. So that's why I said the school must be willing to work together with you. The school draws up something called IEP to balance the level of education he's getting, to also align with what other kids in his class are getting, and to work together with his developmental level. So if, say, in the class is expected to know 200 to 1000, and he can't handle that right now, instead of taking him classes back, he could also draw up a plan that fits him in that same class. So an IEP is drawn up for him. He has therapy sessions at school, and he also has a learning assistant if he needs it. The work of the learning assistant is to ensure that he's learning. He's not just put in one corner of the class while other people are learning. So she structures his sessions in class to be sure that he's not distracting the teacher. He's also not distracting other kids in class, and is getting what he's expected to get day to day.
Did the school get you that, or you did yourself?
Yes, the school. That's all put together by the school, and you just pay for it.
Okay, so now let's talk about you a bit. You are not just a mother; you are a CEO. You run a couple of businesses. How do you manage to do that? Because, as you said, motherhood is not easy, and having a child on spectrum too, and running multiple businesses. How do you do all of that and still live this good?
Okay. Honestly, it's not been easy. I say that it would stretch you, but you come out of it and you come out fine. It's not been a walk in the park, but I've done it and I'm still doing it. I enjoy doing it, as long as you're doing something you love. I remember the days when I was a project manager in a leading tech company abroad, and I did it together with being a parent. And I'm now in Nigeria with multiple businesses, like you say, and I'm still doing it. So in all of this, I found strength in the success story. I had attended my child's PTA meeting yesterday, and a parent approached me and said, "Oh, Toibox, I know you." I'm like, "Oh, really? I don't remember, but it looks familiar somehow." And she said, "Who you had taught me something on how to teach my autistic child potty training." And it's been amazing. If not for you, I probably would have struggled through it now. Those are the stories that keeps me going, to be honest. I won't tell you I draw strength from somewhere, but I'm grateful for the vessel that I am today to other people. And most importantly, when I see my son cross one milestone or the other, do something really amazing, hit the milestones here and there, I'm grateful. Somehow the strength just comes from within, and we keep going. We live to try another day. I've got days that I feel weak. I probably lock myself up and shed a few tears here and there, but we don't let the society see that side of us, But it's been a journey, and I'm just grateful for the journey so far.
So let's talk about your new baby, Kidley Space. How did you come up with that? Because I know that's the first inclusive play house that we have for kids in Ibadan.
Yes.
So how did you come up with the business? Because I know you to be in the educational toys. So how did we come about Kidley Space?
So oftentimes I think that motherhood drains us, but the society have laid it on us that that's our responsibility. And we don't even see the draining part of us or the journey anymore. So now Kidley comes as a relief center for a modern day parent. Now, when you have a growing husband, the ideal thing is that your wife is growing together with you, but you're the mom. the society men says you're the mom and that's what it is. Yeah, it's okay to be the mom, but even your workplace says they give you 3 months maternity leave, which means that you're expected to get back to work after that. But oftentimes, some people don't get back to work just because they're being a mom. They're not sure what befalls their 3 month old baby thereafter. So, Kidley wants to be that relief center. I want you to go back to work, drop off your child, knowing that your child is well taken care of. Oftentimes we also have parents who's gone to work, both of them are working, and then we have the child who's closed at 3. Both parents don't get off work until 5. They're not likely to get to the school until say like 6, 7. So then the question is, who picks up the child? Then the question again becomes, who leaves the work and be the parent who stays at home while the other one is, working and making ends meet. But then we can also be that relief center where we pick up your child from school and then you pick them up when you're done at work. We are 7 to 7. So somehow
Even
we
on
fit in,
weekends,
even on weekends. Sunday we
Sundays.
work every day.
Okay.
So we want to be that center where your mind is at rest. I told someone I had gone for a party one day and the couple were seated next to me and the entire time they were on their phone. Somehow I said, I think you're better off at home watching whatever it is you're watching. And it turns out that they were watching CCTV because they had just gotten a maid and they weren't certain it was ideal enough to leave the maid unattended to while the child is with their children. So again, these days you get party invites that says kids are not invited. Then the question is, who goes to this party? The woman. It's very rare for you to get a man say, "Oh, babe, go. Don't worry, I'll chill with the children." It's very rare. It's the man who goes. So equally, while your life is taking a different turn, your social life also goes along with it. So we want you to dress up while your husband dresses up. Go to that party. Take on that role at work. Just because you're a mom doesn't deter you from growth. While you know that your child is in a safe space, being taken care of even a lot better than you could do at home. So that's the idea behind Kiddie
To
Space.
take the stress off the parents while they
parents.
enjoy themselves.
Exactly.
So, talking about the spectrum now, the autism spectrum, then I'm sure we've had issues like that, but now we have parents talking about it. How did they handle it then? Like, why do we have more people talking about it now? Do you understand what I'm saying? Have you ever felt, did any of your friends or family ever say, why are you putting your kids out there? This is something that should be at home. Come out for wobble. Kílódé tó ń sọ níta kiri pé ọlọ́mọ tó. Do you understand what I'm saying? What do you think about that?
I'm grateful for the exposure we have today and the knowledge. Maybe because I had him or I've had like the last 10, 12 years of my life abroad. I'm not giving room for that stereotype. It's not even a discussion. So one big thing I do when I meet new friends or have you in my circle is I educate you because I want you to have a certain level of education of what autism or special needs is all about so that we can have healthy discussion around this topic. I will always talk about it. I will always embrace parents who are working on this journey. I'm grateful that more people are coming to talk about it. Enough of the days when we are being, shut down and let alone, and it's something that people don't talk about. Shortly after I got to Nigeria, I had taken my son to swim with his younger brother, and he loves to swim. He's been swimming for a while, but because he's on the spectrum, I still don't trust him. I just think he would overdo. He loves to dive more than swimming. So easily I told the lifeguard that he's on the spectrum. Now he doesn't understand what I'm talking about. He's still looking at me. I said, "Oh, all right, cool, no ma." So treat him as such. I bet he didn't understand still, but I didn't let down my guards. I was still there watching him. So 2 parents had walked up to me and said, "You said he's on the spectrum. How are you dealing with it?" I said, "Speak up. What's wrong with you? He's on the spectrum." Yes, I said it out loud. Other people could hear me. So apparently, they've both got kids on the spectrum, but they've got other children too. Those kids on the spectrum have never seen the walls outside their house. At least they don't go out. And what they do is they come together in one person's house with the maid, and then while the other kids and the parent goes out, because the society labels it, and they dance to the tune of the society. I did my best to encourage them. I don't know how far they've gone today, but it is what it is. No matter how much of enlightenment we still have today, there's still some people who lives in that shadow of, oh, Abiruni. What will the world say about it? But year in, year out, We're talking about it. We're embracing it. April 2 is the World Autism Awareness Day. I think the world is doing as much to get the parents to talk about it, to, to embrace it. It's not a death sentence. It's just autism.
I understand. So can you share one special moment with your child that made you really, really smile?
I remember for so long, he had said Dada. I said it earlier. He had said Dada and he didn't say anything again. And, over the years, he had just called me mommy. And as trivial and insignificant as it may seem, it was a moment for me.
At what age did he
I
call
think this
you?
was 6-year-old.
Before you called mama?
Yeah. Today, he does a lot of different things that, you're still very overwhelmed and you can't. A couple of days ago, he sang a Yoruba song. He had said something and, I looked at him like, okay. I didn't even know how to react. I just sang along with him because it was such an exciting moment. So here and there, he throws it in. He knows my worship playlist. The moment he gets into the car every day going to school, he'd say, Mommy, can we listen to worship? He has a beautiful British accent and he says it over and over. Can we? So it's a routine. The moment we're in the car, he just says, Mommy, can we listen to worship? And he sings the entire worship song. So every morning is my wow moment. Even though he's done it over and over, I'm moved, I'm excited. Yeah.
How is his relationship with his
younger brother? Oh, they're best friends. He's so excited. He loves him. And one big thing I did early on was to educate his younger brother. I let him know that your brother is on the spectrum. He's not like you, which means that you would be his guardian angel. You'd be his mouthpiece a lot of time. So, and
he's also doing a fantastic
he's doing an amazing job. We had gone to school one day. It's a new school and the head of school had come to him and say, hi, Folusha. No, hi, what's your name? And immediately he said, oh, my name is Folusha. And that's my brother. It's Foladi. It's on the spectrum. And the lady said, oh, okay, but let him say it by himself. And she said, oh, no. He may not be ready to talk to you. I'm telling you, because I'm his guardian angel. That was a very teary moment for me. But, I even though I'd cooked him for a day like this, I didn't think that the day was coming so fast or that he was really ready for it. But, we're here. He's 6. His brother turns 10. And, I think both of them has made the journey even a lot easier.
For me. So aside from being a mom, a wife, and, running a couple of businesses, how do you rest? How do you, prioritize your mental health?
You should talk to my mom about that. She'll tell you I don't rest.
You don't rest?
I try, to be honest. It's hard. There's a lot to do at the same time. I need to prioritize that a lot more. I won't tell you I'm great at it, so I just get home and I sleep. And no, I don't even get home until late. But in all of this, I think I feel fulfilled. And I think that's the height of it for me. When I hit the bed, I hit it hard and I sleep off. I don't use medications. I just sleep and sleep. But when I'm not sleeping, the head is working.
So, now you just mentioned that you are always out working. Who takes care of the kids at home?
So when I moved to Nigeria, my mom moved into the house with me. So she's been my biggest support system. And I've got a lot of help around. Usually our mom has a lot of people that live with them. So automatically I moved in everybody
to make her comfortable.
Now they are my cousins, actually. Okay. So they all live in the house with me and I brought them up to speed as to what we're dealing with. And everybody has assumed their role without even needing to tell them who does what.
How do you handle stigmatization? Have you ever been to a place and somebody saying that, oh, get that child to stop screaming and all of that? And how did you handle the situation?
So we had a lot of that when he was younger. Not now. He's a lot older. He comports himself very well. One that stood out for me or still surprises me till date was we were going to London and we needed to fly a certain leg before we take the trip to London. And we had delayed the flight, so we were the last set of people they were waiting for. And we got on and the air hostess had said, oh, we were waiting for you. Like, we apologized and got him. Now, this wasn't his first time of flying, but he was not comporting himself at all. And unfortunately, it's a small flight. So it means that 2 seats and then 2 seats, which unusual for him. We had always had the 3 seats in a row. So we all would sit down together. So now I'd prepped him, tried to get him to be comfortable, but he wasn't having it. I had approached the hostess and said, "Can I take a belt?" And belt his younger brother, who had passed that belt age though, while we just get on here and then we would sort ourselves later. And she flared up and said, "Oh, no, 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 I'm not going to take this. You delayed us, and the next thing would be to get off the flight. There's going to be no refund and no compensation whatsoever." So the next option would be to pack her bag and leave, right? And somehow, don't ask me, I don't know where the strength came from. I just turned back and said, "Hello, everyone. I'm really sorry for the delay." Now, mind you, I was the only black girl, black woman, black everything. I was the only black on the flight. And I said, "Oh, I'm sorry for the delay. My son here is on the spectrum and it's not settled. So unfortunately, until it's settled, we may not be able to leave." There was this sudden quiet. And then the next thing, there was a big echo and said, "So what do you need? We're here for you." And immediately, they worked together with the hostess and got her to give me the belt. She didn't only give me the belt, they mandated her to sit next to me and belt the other one. And we were all seated until we got settled on here. And then she left. And, I moved them accordingly. And then I sat on the other side. And so that was a moment for me. It was unfair. I would have been bullied off the plane. But if I didn't talk, it would have been an experience that would traumatize me forever. But today, I rewrote the story.
Right. I think the major thing I've learned from anytime you talk about the spectrum is the fact that you always stand up for. You're not shy away from it. You cannot bully me with what I know.
Exactly.
You cannot. I love the way you just stand up for him, so he can stand up for himself as well.
Exactly.
You're already educated that this is who you are,
Mhm.
so nobody can tell him this is who you are.
Exactly.
I know what I am,
Yeah.
and I think that's commendable. And I think now we should just face it rather than shying away from it.
Like I said earlier, it's not a death sentence. It's just a diagnosis.
Okay, but I remember when I was going through your page a few days ago, Fade was with me and she was saying that this child is okay. Do you understand? It's not drilling and all of that. And can you educate people the difference between the autism and the
other special needs?
Yes.
There's a autism is broad. I'm sorry, autism is broad and special need in general is broad. There are many special diagnoses that a child can get that is not autism. And even again, on the autism spectrum, it's a spectrum, which means there are different levels to the child's autism. My child is on the mild spectrum, which obviously says a lot about how we've been able to, achieve several milestones. So there's several symptoms to it. Certain kids tiptoe, they walk on their toes like this. In most cases, they're not able to reverse it. And in fewer cases, they're able to reverse it, but that's not common. Autism doesn't have a face, unlike Down syndrome, where you can easily tell from the face, the shape of the head, that this child has Down syndrome. In most cases, autism doesn't have a face. You can't tell if you see my child that there's anything wrong with him. If he sits down and comports himself, you will never know that there's something wrong with him. But when he needs to do certain things or is asking for certain things, that's when you probably get that, okay, maybe there's something wrong with this child. But he can carry on a whole day sat next to you and you won't know there's anything wrong with him. But then other special need comes with, in most cases, it comes with a physical appearance that lets you know that there's something wrong with this child. Down syndrome will draw. Autism does not draw.
Okay, so parenting abroad and parenting in Nigeria, which do you prefer?
Nigeria, obviously.
Why?
So they say it takes a village to raise a child. Nigeria is waiting for you. That village is right here with you. It's in your hands. Who you put in your village determines who you let into your circle. Everybody abroad is busy. You yourself, you're busy. You don't have them for that child. So in most cases, it's going to be very hard for you to say, oh, my friend, look after this child, look after this child. No, because they're trying to look after their own child and even go to work. They also need help to look after their own child for themselves. So if you're not able to move your entire family abroad,
you're going to suffer.
Of course you will. My mom had come to raise the first child. By the time I was raising my second, COVID had happened. They had denied her and I knew Shiggy. I saw it. So it was very hard. I'd planned to, I was resuming a new job, and I'd planned according to the fact that I thought my mom was going to be here. And it was very hard. I was moving from meeting to baby care, and breastfeeding while attending to meetings. I was a project manager, meaning I was leading meetings. And I would shock my child's mouth like this because,
You don't
well,
want them to
I didn't even say that I had given birth. So I got the job while on maternity leave, and I didn't, while I was interviewing for the job, I didn't say anything about I'm babying a baby right now or something. So I lived with it. So yeah, it was very hard, and I wouldn't have had that if I had my mom or a support system around me. So
parenting in Nigeria is just better.
of course, I say you can start your child and start school at 3 months. In Sweden, your child doesn't start school until 1 year.
Okay.
Even though you get parental leave for that long period of time, but schools don't take any kids less than 1 year.
Okay, thank you so much for educating us about
You're
the
welcome.
spectrum. And now we are going to the other part of the show. I am going to be asking you some questions. It's
Okay.
just like a game, and
Okay.
you give me the answers.
Okay.
So now, all my questions, all answers should begin with him.
Okay.
Yes. So the first question is, what is the most common means of exchange?
Money.
Money, yes. What is the union of two people as husband and wife?
Marriage.
I told you guys she's smart. What is the study of numbers?
Mathematics.
Okay.
Alright, yeah.
Yeah, you're correct. Why do we call something that is used to make work easier and faster?
Machine.
Okay. Which month of the year has started with the shortest?
May.
Tell me an animal that starts with letter M.
Monkey.
Okay. Give me the name of a country that starts with letter M.
Malaysia.
Animals that feed their newborn with milk.
Mama.
I told you guys. A Nigerian food made of beans is called what?
Moi moi.
Okay. Someone who specializes in childbirth is called?
Matron. No. Oh God. So say the question again. Let it ring.
Someone who specializes in childbirth is called?
It's gone off my head.
M.
Yeah, I know.
It ends with E.
Midwife. Yeah.
Midwife.
Oh, you went away.
Yes. Thank you, Toibox.
Thank
Mrs
you so
Mobolaji Idowu, for coming on the show.
Thank you.
It's always a pleasure having you around.
Thank you. I appreciate
Thank you so much. So we have come to the end of the show. I hope you guys have learned a thing or two about the autism spectrum and how to handle kids like that. Even if you don't have a kid like that, you just know you have to be kind to people around you that are on the spectrum. So until next time, I'm going to be seeing you guys on the next episode. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Bye-bye.
Bye.